How delightful to have you join us on Nationwide today on the network service of the NTA. I'm Naja'atu Tijani. Welcome. Now, some key objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area is to achieve a single market for goods, services and free movement of persons, and to contribute to progressive liberalization of goods and promote industrial development. Now, for Parliament to effectively perform its representational oversight and legislative duties, parliamentarians of ECOWAS are insisting on inclusion at the point of decision-making for different stages and progress on the AfCFTA on NTA Fine-Face reports.
As elected representatives of the people of the West African region, members of the ECOWAS Parliament are determined to support governments of member states to ratify results of negotiations in the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Parliament is also to check the balance of power of the executive, develop benchmark for measuring results and ensure that objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area are not in conflict with domestic legislations and trade policies of member states.
And it is critical that all countries within our customs union ratify in order to maintain the integrity of the ECOWAS customs union before the start of trading of the AfCFTA by the 1st of January 2021.
We don't want to be a rubber stamp parliament. You don't even understand the hazards, the challenges. So we need to know all those challenges so that if we go to our various communities, if we go to our various countries, we will be able to defend or to say this is good or this is not good.
The private sector is very key, but I realize that there's an issue with access to funding. And they have good business plans, they have negotiation skills, but access to funding is a very major issue. Foreign companies come in African countries and raise the money from our banks, they invest, and then they employ us.
African Continental Free Trade Area seeks to combine the economies of 55 African countries under a Pan-African trade area comprising 1.2 billion people in a market with a combined GDP of $3.4 trillion in Cotonou, Benin Republic, on NTA Fine-Face, NTA News.
Meanwhile, a research group on public expectation of Nigerians, led by Professor Tahiru Jiga, has recommended to the National Assembly the legislation of implementable infrastructural projects and strengthening of institutions as part of its next legislative agenda. And this is part of an 11-point recommendation in a document unveiled to the public by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies. John Yaku reports.
Expectations of the Ninth Assembly to the glory of Allah and to the service of humanity.
Among the recommendations are quality legislation, public information, direct communication, good media relationship, civic education, improved legislative agenda and sittings.
A very sophisticated and highly qualitative deliberation. Quality legislation. They also expect from this National Assembly to strengthen legislative procedure.
As a think tank of the National Assembly, NEADS had to carry out this responsibility as part of its contribution to the legislative agenda of the Ninth Assembly.
A parliamentarian, therefore, represent the people, represent their constituent and constituency. Whatever they settle down to do must be a reflection of the demands coming from the environment.
The survey took its samples from 1,475 questionnaires administered in the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, with 1,440 of them returned for analysis. NEADS also presented its 2020-2024 strategic plan that will guide the Institute in the implementation of its policies for the overall interest of staff and the National Assembly. John Yaku, NTA News.
Similarly, the National Assembly is pursuing an alternative source of funding aside from the annual budget for the armed forces of Nigeria to ensure provision of needed logistics and welfare. This is to further improve professionalism. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
We remove the the funding of this critical sector from the envelope and the budget system. That is how it is done everywhere else in the world.
Chairman of the House Committee on Defense stressing the efforts of the legislature to ensure that armed forces get all that is required for the protection of lives and nation's territorial integrity. It was when the Minister of Defense, Bashir Magashi, and Chief of Defense Staff, General Abayomi Olonishakin, appeared for budget defense.
The distinguished members of the House committees are always willing and ready to prioritize matters that concerns the Ministry of Defense.
The House Committee on Army also met with a delegation from the Nigerian Army on 2020 budget performance and projection for 2021.
These days, there are politics even in arm purchase. If you place order, because these are things that you can't buy on the shelf. If you place orders, it takes several months and years before it comes. So if you look inwards, that will be better because we can be able to have what we can use internally.
During a budget meeting with the House Committee on Justice, the Minister and Attorney General of the Federation explained that the ministry has recorded success in recovery of looted assets.
There are quantum of illicit sums of money stashed abroad for which we are working at close quarters with ICPC and the EFCC as defendable allies, largely to effect recoveries.
Our collective intention to move this nation forward can only be achieved when we succeed in developing and implementing a budget framework that adheres to the best practices of effective budget policy.
At another budget session with the Director General, Debt Management Office, Chairman, House Committee on AIDS, Loans and Debt Management, commended the judicious use of borrowed funds by the federal government.
We are always willing to give you whatever cooperation you need to succeed. Definitely, we are always on the same page because we realize what you have in your mind is nothing more than Nigeria.
The committee urged that projects executed with borrowed funds should be equitably spread across the country. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
There were many lessons from the 2019 general elections which, if fully considered, will redefine the electoral process in Nigeria in future. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, stated this while presenting 2 reports on the 2019 general elections in Abuja. Mayor Okidi was there for NTA News.
The 2019 general elections are over, but the post-mortem meeting is still on. Friday, 6th of November 2020, the final reports are out and the time is 11 a.m. for submission. The INEC chair is in a hurry to meet up.
Thank you.
He made it, holding the 2 reports. First is the report of the 2019 general elections, 13 chapters, 384 pages, an INEC account, while the second is review of the 2019 general elections, stakeholders account. The 2 reports found a common ground on 5 key issues: proposing a national dialogue on INEC, amendment to strengthen electoral legal framework, cost of elections, deployment of security personnel, and deepening the use of technology.
It contains 180 recommendations that either require administrative action by the Commission or amendments to strengthen the existing electoral legal framework by the National Assembly. Some of the recommendations that require administrative action by INEC are already being implemented, resulting in improved management of the electoral process as seen in the recent off-cycle governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states.
It is the presentation of the 2019 election report. That is for some. But for Amina Zakari, Antonia Sibini, Baba Shetima, Mohamed Leki, and Solomon Soebi, it is their final engagement as INEC National Commissioners because their tenure ends on the 9th of November 2020, that is on Monday. Mayor Ogede, NTA News.
Thank you, May. And now to the most monitored election in the world. Joe Biden overtakes Trump in Pennsylvania after the Democratic nominee leapfrogs Trump in Georgia, bringing him closer to 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. Just as police are investigating an alleged plot to attack the Pennsylvania Convention Center. Details with Justin Bem-Onyi.
Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden gained more ground on President Donald Trump in the battleground states of Georgia and Pennsylvania on Friday, urging closer to the White House hours after Trump falsely claimed the election was being stolen from him. Biden is inching towards securing the 270 votes needed to win the state-by-state electoral college in 4 undecided swing states.
Democracy is sometimes messy. It sometimes requires a little patience as well. But that patience has been rewarded now for more than 240 years with a system of governance that's been the envy of the world.
Meanwhile, President Donald Trump's campaign is intensifying legal actions to challenge the integrity of the ballot counting process in several battleground states. The president says the U.S. presidential election has been rigged in favor of Democrat candidate Joe Biden. Trump, who addressed the nation from the White House, cried out he is being deprived of victory by fraud perpetrated by the Democrats through mail-in votes. He alleges that if the legal votes are counted, he would be the winner of the presidential race. The president says he is advocating a halt in counting of votes that came in late and went on to tout races that had already been called for him.
If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes that came in late, we're looking at them very strongly, but a lot of votes came in late.
In the meantime, police in Philadelphia are reportedly investigating an alleged plot to attack the city's Pennsylvania Convention Center, where votes are being counted for the U.S. presidential election. Justin Bem-Onyi, NTA News.
And now with these allegations and counter-allegations in the U.S. election process, we have an expert in our studio in the person of Izinwa Wagu. He's the chairman Partners for Electoral Reform and the convener of the Say No campaign Nigeria. You're welcome to our studios.
Thank you. Good evening.
Now, President Trump has repeated unsubstantiated claims of electoral fraud and again prematurely declared victory as his lead in key states slipped away. How is this being interpreted?
Well, it's clear now that our attention when people talk about this civilized crime. You know, when you have conversations in Nigeria, most people just simply say, oh, in civilized crimes, this will not happen. We're now seeing a president, a white president in black skin, if you permit the use of that word. So what is important is that America is no longer the poster boy of those values that we can covet as Africans, as Nigerians. If this was happening in any other African country, Trump would have issued a statement, the American embassy would issue a statement and say, if the polls are rigged, we will do this. And right now, unfortunately for the world, there is not just going to be anywhere where we can look to say for democratic succor and encouragement. But what that tells us, therefore, is that democracy is a work in progress. We need to continue to, just like the Americans, their institutions are stronger than the individuals. If we are perhaps in some other places, really, you may have seen somebody directing that the polls be stopped in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, and the rest of them. But because the American institution is stronger, you work to fit into that institution and not the institution working to fit into the image of a president. You can see that there's a bipartisan understanding of the fact that this president is making what you call an unsubstantiated claim And the outcomes that we see shows that both the Republicans and the Democrats understand that their country is bigger than Donald Trump.
Now, as you rightly said, amidst these unsubstantiated claims, the image of the American democracy has now been battered, especially with threats of violence and division. Even Germany's Minister of Foreign Affairs has accused Donald Trump of what he calls pouring oil on fire. Now, what would you say about this, even though you've already partly answered that question?
I just think that we have lessons to learn, that democracy is autochthonous. You have to always build your own institutions, strengthen. This idea of always thinking that it is better somewhere else is something we need. This election is clearly pointing out to us that you may have Democrats, you may have people who live in democratic societies, but who themselves are not Democrats. The expectation will be that, as this election is going on, that a president will be able to accommodate and understand that it is not going to be do or die, as we say here. But the big issue for me, therefore, is that as a people, as Nigerians, we need to be patient with our democratic growth and progress, and to see that there is just not anywhere where you can have what you call superlative election. Election is a process. There are going to be challenges, but the beauty of the American system is that when these things are thrown up, there is a quick response, whereas we take a longer time to deal with these issues. But like I said, the institution is bigger than those who play in it, and that means that in spite of the outbursts that you see, the American system is really able to checkmate some of those claims and deal with it.
And as you say, it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of process, is it? What obtains in Nigeria will not necessarily obtain in the US. But, now that Trump has sort of attacked the process, do you see this as assertion of independence by America's election umpire, or is this just his own personal, is this just Trump throwing a tantrum as the world sees him?
I was in the US immediately after the 2016 elections, and if you remember, even his own election was dogged by protests, even up to the point of these elections. So it tells you that the American electoral system is also coming under deep public scrutiny, and what that means is that there's a lot of work to be done, and democracy is all over the world. People are beginning to feel and ask the question whether this democracy really addresses the challenges of legitimate recruitment process into public positions. So it's for us. It's not just to celebrate, like you said. It's one of the most observed elections. But why are we observing? We observe to be able to draw some lessons that can help us to strengthen our own electoral system and make it better, and now become the poster boy of the world. We showed in Ondo and Edo that it is also possible to make incremental progress in our electoral process, and we should be able to push that out to the world, that there is something to learn from Nigeria and not America.
And that's something to look forward to. We want to thank you very much. We know that the world will be watching and waiting for the outcome. Thank you very much, Mr. Nwagu.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And now we'll take a break, and when we return, we'll head over to Lagos, where Adiola is standing by to bring us more reports on Nationwide.
A scorecard like no other. Government has put in place measures and initiatives principally targeted at youths, women, and the most vulnerable groups in our society. These included broad plan to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in the next 10 years. The creation of 75 billion naira National Youth Investment Fund to provide opportunities for the youths, and the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Survivor Fund, through which government is A. Paying 3-month salaries of the staff of 100,000 micro, small and medium enterprises. B. Paying for the registration of 250,000 businesses at the Corporate Affairs Commission. C. Giving a grant of 30,000 naira to 100,000 artisans and guaranteeing market for the product of traders. These are in addition to many other initiatives such as farmer money, trader money, market money, N-Power, N-Tech, and N-Agro. These and more in spite of a recession and a global pandemic.
That social media is not good or bad, and that it is you who is using it that is either good or bad. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, verify the information, and reflect before sharing it. Now, are you a good social media user? Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source for a better Nigeria.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency. The Council of Our Fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel 91, Freeview UK channel 264, or you can download www.visiontv.co.uk. App for iOS or Android, Intelsat 901 degree east. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Thank you for joining us in Lagos. The Lagos State Panel of Inquiry on Restitution for Victims of SARS and other related abuses, including the Lekki Tollgate incident, started with further hearing on the Lekki Concession Company, LCC. A legal practitioner, Ogulana Adeshino, announced that he was the counsel representing the NSAS protesters. Reacting to this, lawyers of Lagos State Government and LCC raised objections, noting that NSAS was a nebulous entity. Their objections were later withdrawn when Adeshino introduced 3 protesters as petitioners in the Lekki shooting, and his representation was accepted by chairman of the panel, Justice Doris Okuwobi, retired. The petitioners are Victoria Oniru, Dabira Ayokun, and Perpetua Kamsi Chukwu. As part of the hearing, a video footage submitted by the LCC at the last sitting, 3rd November, which wasn't viewed for lack of equipment, was admitted by the panel as evidence, and the chairman called for it to be shown. Advising the panel, lawyer to the LCC suggested that specific sections of the submitted footage be watched, but counsel to the NSAS protesters insisted that the whole footage should be played. Viewing of the LCC CCTV recording for 20th of October 2020, starting from 12 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the day of the Lekki Tollgate incident, is still ongoing at the hearing. Members of the National Assembly Committee on Marine Transport as well as Ports and Harboring have promised to assist the Nigeria Ports Authority to rebuild its damaged headquarters in Marina, Lagos through legislation. This was after an assessment tour of the agency's premises. Dotun Oguyemi reports.
The
Nigerian Port Authority has commenced investigations into the arson perpetrated by suspected hoodlums at the headquarters of the agency in Marina, Lagos, in the wake of the violence that trailed the NSAS protests. Despite the setback, management of the agency was able to resume its operations barely 48 hours after the destruction. Members of the Joint National Assembly Committee are here to put into perspective the level of damage for necessary budgetary provisions.
For them to extend to us their budget alterations if there's any need for anything like that, so we can take a look at it and give them the full support that is necessary.
And we are also aware that some of the critical infrastructure or vehicles are also insured, but we know the insurance company cannot pay for the whole damages.
We have full insurance cover, but to the extent that there may be gaps, we appreciate that the National Assembly is willing to accommodate that to ensure that our offices are put back in the way they are, and every other item that was looted or vandalized is recovered within the shortest period.
Governor Nasiru El-Rufai of Kaduna State also visited the Marina headquarters to commiserate with the management of the agency.
We will give all the support we can as state governments, because the health of the NPA is very important to us.
The members of the committee promised to prioritize all the reform policies that are currently ongoing at the NPA for effective maritime service delivery. In Lagos, Dotun Ukuyemi, NTA News.
Similarly, following the recent breakdown of law and order that led to the massive destruction of both public and private property in Lagos State and the country at large, Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai has called for peace and unity to prevent future recurrence of such incidents at the Lagos House Marina. Nusa Usula completes the story.
Governor El-Rufai, who visited Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu to commiserate with him over the coordinated arson sparked by NSAS protest, said his Lagos counterpart did all that is needed to be done to prevent the recent youth's protest against police brutality from degenerating to violence. El-Rufai, however, said those who thrived in violence infiltrated the protest to achieve their agenda of wreaking a large-scale destruction on public assets and infrastructure in the state.
Lagos accounts for nearly 1/3 of Nigeria's output and GDP, and it is really, really tragic that this kind of peaceful demonstrations have resulted in such violence, such destruction of public and private property, and destruction of confidence.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who explained that although Lagos had started to look forward and engage in new partnerships towards restoring the destroyed assets, vowed to make the state uncomfortable for those with the intention to destroy the state's economy and heritage.
We will continue to ensure that we provide an ambience where businesses can thrive, international businesses, investors can indeed know that it's an unfortunate incident, and we are doing everything to ensure that it doesn't repeat itself, so that we can build those confidence and those trust back to that international community.
Governor Sanwo-Olu, however, assured residents that the state government remains committed to getting justice for those who were brutalized by the disbanded Special Anti-Robbery Squad operatives. In Lagos, Nusa Usula, NTA News.
Fire control officers are keeping vigil at the tank farm that caught fire in Apapa on Thursday, as 13 fire engines and other chemicals are on standby at the scene. Abolade Salami has an update.
Fire is still raging, as you can see from my rear, and this has been the situation since yesterday when this unfortunate incident happened. The information we gathered from fire service officials that we met on ground is that since yesterday when this fire outbreak occurred here, they've been on ground and they've deployed all safety skills to ensure that the fire does not escalate to other tanks that are present in this tank farm. Bring us up to speed with what we currently have and how has the situation been ever since.
Well, currently the tank itself is crumbling gradually, and the content there is currently being exhausted. We are cooling the tank is the most effective one. We have used so many compound phone.
While we got in here, we saw that the area has been cordoned off, and we have here on ground engineers of various oil companies here that are putting heads together to ensure that the fire is gradually put out. We asked what was the cause of the fire, and we were told off camera that it is due to negligence on the part of some workers here in Lagos. Abolade Salami, NTA News.
And that's it from here. Najitu is back to you for more on Nationwide.
Thank you, Adiola. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, has sworn in 8 new justices of the Supreme Court, bringing the number of justices of the court from 12 to a record 20. He asked the justices not to allow their personal considerations to becloud their sense of judgment. Judiciary correspondent Vera Chinwuba, who witnessed the ceremony in Abuja, reports that it was filled with excitement.
Though the number of Supreme Court justices has been brought to 20, it is still short of the full complement of 21 as stipulated by Section 230, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution. The justices elevated from the Court of Appeal bench took time to take their oath of office and oath of allegiance to the Constitution. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Ibrahim Tanko Muhammad, who described the event as historic and the dawn of a new era for the Apex Court, asked the justices to shun extraneous considerations while discharging their duties.
You must not, therefore, allow your personal ambition or any extraneous considerations to becloud your sense of judgment. Our moral uprightness, integrity and respect for the Constitution and other acts and laws in operation must be unwavering.
The ceremony elicited some reactions.
But with what we have today, about 4 courts can be constituted rather than 2 or 3 that we used to do in the past. Supreme Court.
With dispensing with justice at Supreme Court level. So it's commendable.
State governors, relations, friends and well-wishers witnessed the ceremony. The swearing in of 8 justices of the Apex Court is a cheering news in view of the increasing number of appeals that flood the court on a daily basis and for reducing the backlogs of appeals pending at the court. In Abuja, Vera Chinwuba, NTA News.
Plateau State Government takes another step to boost primary health care in the state. Zenret in Jos will tell us more.
Thank you, Najat, and welcome to Jos. For effective service delivery in tandem with evolving global best practices, the National Veterinary Research Institute, NVRI in VOM, has organized a 3-day strategic planning retreat in Jos. Ekemeren Kaneng Ladoja has details.
A veterinary institute committed to research excellence and the production of standard quality vaccine for the livestock industry is the vision of the National Veterinary Research Institute, NVRI VOM. And so to strengthen and achieve this vision, the strategic planning retreat drew top management cadre of the institute and change agents to brainstorm on achievements and challenges of the institute, as well as profile solutions to such and to brainstorm on the way forward.
VOM is a rare institute that tackles both livestock and human diagnosis. In view of this development, special and adequate attention should be given to the institute.
You cannot move the institute forward without your cooperation. That cooperation is very important.
The retreat is also aimed at seeking innovative ways to reposition the institute under its new chief executive, Dr. Mariam Mohammed.
We needed to sit down and look at our mission again, look at the vision, and then
reassess our core values to see where there are weaknesses so that we begin to look at how to remedy those weaknesses.
The workshop drew about 70 participants to find a broad-based solution to challenges faced by the institution, how to improve production of its product, and emerge with a policy document, which they will, together with the institute management, step down to the workforce, thereby building a formidable veterinary research institute. In Jos, Ekemeren Kaneng-Ladoja, NTA News.
Plateau State government is constructing health facilities across the senatorial districts of the state to ensure quality primary health care for the people. To this end, the Commissioner of Health, Dr. Nimkom Damlar, and his housing counterpart undertook an inspection tour of some projects in Kwal and Mabudi, in Kanke and Lantang South local government areas of the state. Ashiz Gopep reports.
Access to qualitative healthcare services over the years has been a challenge in many communities in Plateau State, causing untold hardship to the people. Worried by the situation and to cater for the health needs of residents as well as neighboring communities, the present administration, on assumption of office, reviewed contracts for the construction of Kanke and Mabudi General Hospitals awarded since 2005. Supervisors were on site and work ongoing at the Kanke General Hospital, which is a 60-bed capacity hospital, and work ongoing at the Mabudi General Hospital construction site. The team expressed delight at the level and pace of work.
A lot of significant changes has happened compared to the last time we came. We have done over 85% of his work, so he has done a lot. As a supervising ministry, I can authoritatively, in view of the bill of quantity, that the contractors adhere strictly to the bills of quantity and specification.
The projects, which are expected to be completed soon, will be equipped with state-of-the-art facilities to meet the health needs of the people. In Jos, Ashiz Gopep, NTA News.
That's it from this end. It's back to Najat in Abuja for more news on Nationwide.
Thank you, Zenret. And now to security matters. The Nigerian Air Forces to deploy 4 newly acquired unmanned combat aerial vehicles to the 207 Quick Response Group, Gusau, to strengthen the ongoing military operations in Zamfara and neighboring states. The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, stated this while on an assessment visit to the unit preparatory to the deployment of the aerial vehicle. Haliru Muhammad reports.
The Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Baba Abubakar, was on an assessment visit to Zamfara State at the instance of President Muhammadu Buhari, who directed for the construction of a runway and an ancillary facilities at the NAV 207 Quick Response Group Gusau for the deployment of 4 CH-4 unmanned combat aerial vehicles to the unit. The combat vehicles, which are part of the 8 UAVs recently acquired by the federal government to enhance intelligence and strike capabilities of the Nigerian Air Force, are to cover Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi and Katsina states, as well as some parts of Kaduna State. The Chief of the Air Staff interacted with Governor Bello Muhammad and some other critical stakeholders, including traditional and religious leaders at Government House Gusau, where he formally intimated them with the initiative and sought for their continued support to the ongoing efforts to achieving lasting peace in Zamfara State. He said the aerial vehicles could remain airborne for 26 hours, providing persistent presence over areas of interest.
This is the first time in the history of Nigeria and indeed Nigerian Air Force that we are acquiring these platforms. And the whole idea is to add value to what is being done to ensure that there is security in the northwest zone of Nigeria and indeed in other parts of the country.
So we have to thank Mr. President and the Chief of Air Staff for giving us this direct support in order to enhance the security situation in the state.
As the NAV 207 Quick Response Group Gusau needs urgent expansion to adequately respond to the new development, Governor Bello Muhammad has instantly approved for the allocation of the required land to facilitate the takeoff of the project. Meanwhile, the governor, alongside the chief of the air staff, formally received some 12 rescued victims who were last week kidnapped on their way to a local market in Maru local government area of Zamfara State. In Gusau, Halliru Muhammad Umar, NTA News.
The Police Service Commission has cautioned officers and men of the force against taking laws into their hands, urging them to ignore any inciting comments on social media regarding rules of engagement. A statement by the Commission indicates that this moment does not call for incitement, but a complete renewal of faith in the Nigerian project, as police personnel are expected to conduct themselves with the highest degree of patriotism in obedience to rules of engagement. The statement adds that the Commission is doing its best to see that the welfare of officers and men are enhanced and worthy of their sacrifice to the nation. The Commission is also seeking a comprehensive overhaul of its logistics to discharge its constitutional responsibilities. Officers and men are hereby encouraged to play a leading role in the search for peace and progress of the country. Similarly, the Police Community Relations Committee is collaborating with the Nigerian Police Force to promote peaceful, public and effective community policing relations through the involvement of youth, women and other stakeholders for improved security. Francis Form reports.
Since 1984, when the Police Community Relations Committee was established, this is the first time youths and women are involved in the quest to meet the constitutional mandate of sourcing and providing credible information to the police.
Accordingly, it is in order to make PCRC in tune with the current realities, support the IGP's determination to reposition the Nigeria Police Force and complement the police security efforts.
The Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, in a message says, police cannot afford to work in isolation while securing lives and property, but needs the cooperation of every stakeholders in the society.
We want to be sure the environment we do business is secured. These are grounds for which the police must seek collaboration of citizens.
We need to ensure that there is prompt report of violence or any distortion that we see that is not part of the regular occurrence within your community. You should quickly get to the police.
The PCRC resolves to mobilize logistics and support for the police in their bid to purge the nation of all forms of crimes. In Abuja, Francis Form, NTA News.
And now Adebola in Ibadan will update us on succession for the University of Ibadan Vice Chancellor seat. Hello, Adebola.
Good afternoon, Najatu. Nice to see you. Welcome to Ibadan. Governor Seyi Makinde has reaffirmed his administration's determination to continue to support the Nigerian Army. The governor stated this during the inauguration of the 2-division officers transit camp at the Adekunle Fajui Cantonment, Odogbo. Correspondent Ayomiku Ajibola has details.
Declaring that the level of professionalism and nationalism being displayed by the Nigerian Army while on election and other political assignments within the country showed that there is still hope for the country. Governor Seyi Makinde commended the officers and men of the 2 division of the Nigerian Army for their role in maintaining peace and order in Oyo State, adding that his government will continue to do whatever it can to make life better for them. He expressed delight and congratulated the GOC 2 Div Major General Anthony Omozoje and Army engineers on the completion of the transit accommodation for personnel posted to the division.
We flagged off actually the second phase of Operation Light Up your state, and very soon those LED lights will be inside the barrack.
The GOC 2 Div on his part lauded the state governor for the numerous supports which, according to him, have been enjoyed by the division.
The division has executed a number of projects using its resources to contribute to the infrastructural development in Adekunle Fajui Cantonment.
Dignitaries including former Chief of Defence Staff, Lieutenant General Alani Akeriade, Brigadier General Raji Rasaki, among others, attended the occasion in Ibadan. Ayomiku Ajibola, NTA News.
The quest to appoint new Vice-Chancellor for the University of Ibadan has been witnessing different twists. Dayo Ogunshola captures the update. His report is here presented.
The University of Ibadan Senate says attempt to whip dangerous and divisive sentiment into the laid-down process of appointing a new Vice-Chancellor for the institution will not be condoned. This position was taken at an emergency meeting where the Senate warned workers' union in the Citadel of Learning to steer clear from meddling in the process of appointing a new Vice-Chancellor for the institution.
Senate affirmed that the process of the appointment of the Vice-Chancellor thus far has been in line with the extant laws, and it should continue and be concluded forthwith.
In a swift reaction, the Joint Action Committee of the Senior Staff Association of the Nigerian Universities and the Non-Academic Staff Union of the institution said at no time did their members assume or intend to usurp the responsibility of selecting the new Vice-Chancellor.
We have made our position known, and we know we cannot be a judge in our own case. While we await the final resolution of the conundrum, we want to use this platform to commend all the shortlisted candidates for their maturity.
We are not saying they should not appoint their vice-chancellors, but when we see some errors, we have the right to point out the errors.
The process of appointing new vice-chancellor for the premier university that began with a debate for applicants had been trailed with misunderstandings.
You're still watching Nationwide on the NTA. Time now for another break, after which we'll join Asmao in Sokoto. Stay with us.
Dialogue, empathy, love and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy.
My name is Nando Jamda
Muhammad.
Stedita
Hussein Musa. Roduna Joel Finji. Said Musa. John.
I'm a carpenter. I've been doing this for more than 8 years now.
And I said that plantain. Nakai Kimami Shekara Uku.
I've been selling my tomatoes for about 10 years now, and I do it for a better Nigeria.
And I do it for a better Nigeria.
And you can see we're doing our small little work to make Nigeria great.
As you can see, I'm a technician, and I'm doing it to help myself and to help my generation.
Business.
This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
NTA News 24. A 24-hour news station brings to you news and happenings 7 days a week.
News at 10 a.m., news update at 11 and 1 p.m.
News desk at 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. and late evening news at 11 p.m.
Follow us on any of our platforms and keep abreast of events and current affairs within and outside our shores.
We are on DSTV channel 419, GoTV channel 46,
Star Times channel 101 and Free TV channel 703. Join us.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous. Whether you do it for fun or for political gains, real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
Good evening and welcome to Sokoto on Nationwide. Sokoto State Government has expended over 8 billion naira in the provision of 30 million gallons of potable water to the people of the state. Elato Abdullahi reports that the River State Governor, Nyesom Wike, commissioned one of the completed water schemes and laid foundation for the construction of the Sokoto State University Teaching Hospital. Sokoto State University.
Of potable water to the people is under the semi-urban water schemes provided to local government headquarters of the state. Out of the 20 water schemes awarded at the cost of over 400 million naira each, 14 have been completed and the remaining 6 are at appreciable stages of completion. Commissioner of the Bodinga Water Scheme, the Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, described the provision of quality drinking water as a bold step toward preventing outbreaks of waterborne diseases. For each of the completed water scheme, reticulations have been carried out for 5 kilometers from the source to ensure easy access. The visiting governor also laid foundation for the construction of Sokoto State University Teaching Hospital, which will cost the state government over 6 billion naira. The 950 beds capacity teaching hospital is aimed at providing the needed manpower to the ongoing construction of premier hospitals at Tambol and Sabon Birnin, as well as primary and tertiary health facilities across the state.
It's a project that has a direct impact on the lives of the people. I once more urge the people of Sokoto State to continue to be with you and continue to pray for you for more dividends of democracy.
Governor Nyesom Wike also laid foundation for the dualization of Wazir Abbas Road in Sokoto Metropolis, awarded at over 700 million naira. The Rivers State Governor concluded his working visit by inspecting the ongoing remodeling of the Sokoto State High Court complex. The remodeling of the complex is to meet global standard. In Sokoto, Elato Abdullahi, NTA News.
Senate Committee on Army says it will not relent in its efforts to support the Army in achieving its set-out objective. Chairman of the committee, Senator Ali Ndume, started this during an oversight visit to Sokoto and its neighboring states. Musa Abubakar reports.
Away from the battleground where the army is involved in a series of operations to neutralize bandits and criminal elements in the northwest, the Senate Committee on Army is in Sokoto to assess on the field and off-the-field activities of the 8th Division of Nigerian Army in the state. The oversight team, which was briefed behind closed doors, expressed satisfaction with the operations and activities of the 8th Division.
Not only that they went into confronting or fighting the bandits, but the Nigerian Army also has ventured into other social responsibility or non-kinetic activities, and they have achieved a lot.
Whatever achievement we made is attributable to both Operation Hadar and Daji, Sahel Sanity, and the troops of 8th Division that are organic to this division.
The committee was also at 1st Battalion Burning Kebbi State and 1st Brigade Gusau in Zamfara State, where they were brought up to speed on military activities in the state and taken on a tour of projects by the Army.
The barracks really need to be completely renovated and expanded. There is the perimeter fencing and everything there is just down, and it has not been renovated since the time it was commissioned.
The oversight team is expected to submit its assessment to the Senate for necessary action. In Sokoto, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
And that's it from Sokoto. Najatu, is over to you.
Thank you and welcome back to our Abuja studios. The recent looting and vandalism of public and private property in the name of NSAS could be attributed to the youth being misinformed about the true state of things in the country. The coalition of civil society groups in Nigeria is therefore partnering with the Nigerian Television Authority to change the narrative, Olabode Arewa reports.
According to the National Broadcasting Commission, the NSAS protest was fueled by unverified information peddled to sway unsuspecting Nigerians and cause unrest. Leveraging on the important role usually played by civil society organizations in promoting patriotism among the larger society, the Civil Society Coalition signifies its intention to commence another round of grassroots engagement of young people on peaceful coexistence. Executive Director of the group, Emmanuel Nwosu also frowned at the vandalism of media houses during the protests.
Every form of destruction of public property, individual, private enterprises, will amount to total destruction of the future of Nigerian youths. And we want to plead with them to cease.
Expressing support for the CSO's mission, the Director General of the NTA, represented by the Executive Director of Engineering, Dr. Moses Okpanachi, says the NTA would remain in the forefront of disseminating positive and reassuring news about the country and its citizens.
The vital tool to nation building is the media. And when these people started burning media houses, we knew they really want to take us back to the old age. But we thank God for organizations, group, civil society like your own group that wants to dialogue, wants to really interface, engage.
The engagement by the civil society coalition commences immediately in Abuja on Labodarewa. NTA News.
The Tertiary Education Fund, TED Fund, is evolving a more proactive approach to re-engineering tertiary education in the country, especially in infrastructural resource development. The latest is the fund's Subcommittee of Defense and Security on Research and Development, which undertook a visit to the Ministry of Defense for collaboration. The TED Fund recently embarked on efforts to redefine Nigeria's focus in research and development enterprise, working the academy and the industries. National Defense Academy, Kaduna, Nigerian Army University, BU, the Air Force Training Institute, and the Nigerian Naval Basic Training School are tertiary institutions supervised by the Defense Ministry, which conducts research and development on academics.
One entity that changes this country.
There is nothing more than this that we need from any sector of the academy than this. Anybody who does not encourage this, I think he is left in his own dreams.
The committee was also at the Naval Headquarters on the same mission.
I am pleased to inform that the Nigerian Navy has over time given R&D prominence in the fulfillment of its strategic goals and objectives as encapsulated in the revised Nigerian Navy Transformation Plan 2011 to 2020.
The TED Fund Standing Committee was inaugurated last month to ensure that the Nigerian education and research development moves from the old way of doing things to be in tune with global best practices. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has described as welcoming the gradual return of peace to Borno State and has promised more decisive and proactive measures towards the total elimination of Boko Haram. And details will come in our subsequent bulletin. That concludes the news on Nationwide. Thanks for staying tuned and remember to stand against rape and rapists.